Whispers of a Machine. This is an interesting little title. It came out in 2019. And it's set in a post artificial intelligence world. It's also classified as a Nordic noir. And I had to look this up. That's like a detective noir type story set in Scandinavia, or one of the Scandinavian countries. So this was very interesting. I mean, with the combination, so you will see a lot of Nordic influence. In fact, you will find runes, and the paths you take in the game are referenced to three Norse deities. I'd have to look them up. But I do know that the path I predominantly took when I played through the game was the path of the empathetic path. Now, in this game, you play as Vera. Now, she is a cybernetically enhanced officer or detective who's investigating murders in a small town. She's been called in actually to investigate one murder, but as she's on her way there, there's a second murder. And then there's a third murder. So, she must figure out what's going on. Now, because she's cybernetically enhanced, as she's had what they call blue injected to her, which is basically like cybernetic, like nanites or something like that, which respond to how you think and give you augmentations to help you in that process. You continue the game, you learning these with these skills to help you. Each day you get a new ability. Although on the fourth day it gets a little tricky. And like as you probably now guessed, this game takes place over 4 days, which tends to be common with a lot of noir style stories. They take place in a relatively real time situation. And that style works very well for this. The town is relatively small where you can traverse, and each day increases in size and where you can go, mainly because more options become open to you. And all the characters are relatively interesting to follow and learn of. And there are clues to solve puzzles in the game if you know what you're looking for. And even if you don't know what you're looking for, I mean, I would occasionally look up quick hint. So I try to keep my playthrough pretty much blind and use my brain. Now, of course, the paths you take, you get augmentations to help you perform the tasks of the day. Now, the path I took, I got augmentation. I got a mimicry. And oh, there was one more I got on the last day. Oh, I think that was the instant heal. Which was to help me solve problems. But anyhow, as you arrive on the first day, you get confronted with your first murder. Well, actually, with the second murder. And then you're working with the first murder to try and find out what's going on. And through investigations, on that first day, you find out that someone had built an artificial womb for a child, to bring a child into the world. And it raises several questions. Now you have to find the person who is the quote mother, because apparently they're not dead. But the two others who are part of it are the person who built the womb and the apparent father. Now you do have a contact that you are relaying this to and throughout the day, and you are working with the local police, who seem to be a very good-natured sort. At least one of them is. The other one seems helpful, a little ambitious, but he's at least decent. I'm getting ahead of myself. As you go on, you also learn that you start getting references to a group called the Conduit, who were people who were for AI and would like to bring it back, even though it's now, quote, forbidden. Now, as you go through, you find after the first day, you wake up on the second day, and another murder has happened. And this guy you have questions about, because why was he murdered? You find out he was murdered with the same weapon. You find out that the baby needs help, and you have to find a lab. You find the missing person and find out they say they only wanted to have a baby. Okay. So there's nothing seemingly wrong about that. I mean, in question, you have to wonder, I mean, why go to these lengths? And why are you trying to, pretty much borderline doing something completely illegal? Well, as we go through the second day and we find out things, now we have to find out other things. We have to find out why. We have to find out from the various people where to find the missing person, the mother of the child. And as we further our investigations on day 3, where we find out about the Church of Epos, which of course makes one wonder, these are the religious people who are pretty much against AI, that maybe they may be behind some things, but we also find out through some evidence we found that we're being duped, that somebody is playing us. And as we go to investigate and find out more, of course, the person is, quote, the mother of the child is now in a coma. The child is now missing. So now we have to find things out. And then when we go to, and it doesn't look like the church is involved as a whole, one possible zealot. And here we find out that we really are being double-crossed. as someone basically tosses us over the edge of town. So we must survive the night in the open without augmentations, because the augmentations pretty much drain themselves, keeping Vera alive. And then when you return to town, you're now public enemy number one. So in the course of day 4, you must clear your name, bring the actual culprit to justice, and then make a very fateful decision. And I'm being vague on this as possible because this is the beauty of the story. I mean, there are so many there are nice twists and turns that keep you guessing even to the end. And it also asks some certain moral questions. Because as the quote pro AI group, the Conduit, would argue, AI has the potential to be our greatest achievement. But like anything else, we must weigh the consequences of the good with the bad. Now, it's easy for idealists to overlook the bad potential. And it's also very, very likely that the more pessimistic or realistic outlook can overlook the good, beneficial potentials. And as you play this game, you will also ask yourself, you can find yourself asking these questions. Because in the end, you will decide if you will release AI into the world again or not. And Vera has her own traumas that she has to deal with. She is missing her better half, who has passed away. So this plays heavy into, this will play a part in any decisions you will make. Could you restore them to a life of sorts? Do you do that? This being a widower, that hits close to home for me. There are often times that I have had my own dreams where my late wife miraculously returns. And I have always realized that when those dreams came across, they seem so real, but you know it can't be. So, that kind of hit hard home for me on that end. And in turn, what I did choose gave Vera a chance to have a child to care for. We are basically, we must decide the paths our future is to have. And sometimes we have to judge whether we are worthy of that knowledge. And I do think in part this game was telling us this. The clues, you can't complete a day until you find everything you need to find, which is great game design whenever they throw that in there. And sometimes it takes you a while to realize something's odd. And that is usually when it comes about that you have to figure things out. While there are some tough choices in the game, there is a logic to everything. A logic to the clues you find, a logic to what is in your inventory. There is never an opportunity when something is in your inventory that it may not be used. If you pick something up, you're going to use it in one way or another. You have very interesting characters, and sometimes going back to characters and talking with them about something actually gets you further along. And interacting with certain characters can help you out in the long run. Every character is very interesting in the game. If they are given a name, you know they're going to be important to the story. And it is your job to figure out that importance. There are people who show up that you may not think much of, but they're important. You have to time things for when things are quiet. You have to time things to sneak by others. You have to correctly dissuade others, and there are certain things that you can learn in the process by being stealthy or using your augmentations wisely. It is a fun game. It was a very good game, a very enjoyable game. And it does have replay value to see if you can achieve other endings or take other paths to try and figure out what's going on. And apparently there is also combinations that will allow you to complete the game using a mix of augmentations. So that's something to try for. Maybe at a later time I might do that. But I do recommend getting Whispers of a Machine. It's a very fun game. Voice acting is terrific. And that's all I'm going to say about Whispers of a Machine. Like I said, it's a very good game. It's very enjoyable. I recommend, especially if you love detective stories and that. And that's all I'm going to say. As always, this is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Rich Gen X elsewhere, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel and check out all the videos. And until next time, bye.